Around the Premier League for the last few minutes. Let's start with United, or let's not start with United. Let's start with a fella who's linked with United, and then let's talk about who United are looking to sign themselves, because I don't think people are going to believe either of these stories. Start off with Jadon Sancho, and then tell me who it is that United are kind of side-eyeing currently, because, like I say, there's a lot going on at that club, and I don't think people are going to quite believe it. So we start with the Sancho news. Things not going as well for that kid as he would have seen and envisaged a few years ago.
He looks so happy, doesn't he, in that Chelsea trip and everything like that. Except Sweeney Todd is not that happy with Jadon Sancho. And even for a player that cost around 80 million quid when he moved to Old Trafford or anything, Chelsea are going to try and get out of paying the 20 million quid for a homegrown player, an England international. That's how far this guy's stock has fallen, Trev. Like, literally a case of Chelsea are prepared to pay, a £5 million penalty clause to United just so they don't have to take him. Do you know what that? That's how I can't even think a more recent time of a trajectory going the wrong way of a career. Sweeney Todd will pay 5 million quid not to sign you. Like that is just absolutely insane. So that was, that is just a staggering one that even now. And for United, we always have to bring a United story in. This one made me belly laugh. This was brilliant. Neco Williams, not the Bilbao winger, but the right back who we sold to Nottingham Forest for about 16 million quid a few years ago. He's only got about a year left to go on his Forest contract in the summer. And obviously, look how well Forest are doing. They're absolutely flying. Manchester United inquired about him for their right wing back position. Maybe should have thought that this was a player that's grown up at Anfield, come through the ranks, is a Liverpool fan. And I wish I'd heard the conversation, but I bet I could guess what his reply was to this. But yes, they inquired. Everyone suspects that he will renew with Forest, especially if they make the Champions League. Of course he would. But there's a lot of clubs watching him.
Can I jump in there and just say something that's sort of possibly a bit wild, but I saw it mentioned on Twitter yesterday around Neco Williams, someone highlighting how well he's doing, what a good player he's turned into. And they were sort of touting him, as a potential to come back to the club. Now, I remember him being good, but I also remember thinking it was probably the right thing for the kid to move on.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched him as closely as other people will have watched him in his current club. He seems to always pull up trees for his country. And a lot of people are very, very impressed with his club performances this season as well. I mean, do you think there's any vague potential there, or would we have done anything clever with a buyback clause or anything like that for that kid? Do you think he warrants it? Just curious about your own opinion on Williams.
Yeah, it was one. If it is there, no one's got it, or no one knows that there is a buyback clause, if there is one at all. The thing about Neco Williams is, I think sometimes his skill set and a versatility can count against him, because he's played right back, right wing back, left wing back, even left wing at times for Wales, hasn't he? And you know, sometimes you can get those players who you see it, they're great, and they're the utility men, we used to call them back about 15 years ago, didn't they? The thing about utility men is they tend not to be good enough just to have one position or an expert in that position by nature. And I just think that I don't see it at all. I'm not saying it's impossible, and maybe it'd be funny almost, wouldn't it, if in a year left to go or there was something left. But based on what we're hearing for fullback and how he profiles, I am struggling to see it. But then again, he can defend, unlike Frimpong, so maybe that comes into the mix.
Who knows? Certainly worth watching. And just before we go to a sort of a, oh my God, they've done it again, here's two lads we could have possibly got. Let's look at one more story in the Premier League, and that is Tyler Dibling. and the frankly bananas money that is being rumored that Southampton want for him. First of all, is that a rumor, or was that an actual label that was slapped on him on the back of inquiries? Because if it is, are they actually mental?
This is genuine. This is multiple journalists have written this and sourced this like, yeah, this is genuine. Everyone knows Southampton. I think that might even be down officially. I don't know. But this is their star crown jewel potential, all this, etc. And this has all come from 14 Premier League clubs have inquired about Tyler Dibling. And you can imagine how the call goes, like, and they're having the chat. So how much would you be wanting for him? 100 million. No, seriously, like 100. Come on, stop. No. Southampton have put a price tag of 100 million on this kid. Now, as we're snorting here, I think this kid's got real potential. And you can see there's a reason why 14 Premier League clubs and Tottenham and City and we have inquired about him. But at that price, Southampton, let's be clear, they're trying to drive up a bidding war, aren't they? They want everyone to just like bid up until they get a top fee. They know they're not going to get 100 million. They probably know they're not even going to get half. That would be good for them. And people have said in the chat panel, yeah, look at how they did it for Lavia, and I get that. But it's still quite funny to think with a straight face, someone said, Tyler Dibling, 100 billion quid, isn't it?
I mean, like you can't blame them. Maybe someone will be mental enough to pay something approaching that. Maybe, like you say, they'll get 50, 60, which would surely represent great money for them. Worth watching, see what happens there. When you think about the 100 million figure, only a couple of seasons ago, and how, there was the Grealish and then Rice. And it was like, really, can we go? Is that not like almost vaguely immoral to go to that amount of money for a footballer? But at least these were players who were incredibly sought after. This is a kid. He may have all the potential in the world, but wow, it's an odd one. Now, Brighton are doing Brighton things, and Chelsea, who love a signing, are doing Chelsea things. Just tell us about this latest episode in here's Brighton doing what Liverpool really should be doing.
This was when we asked about these names, these just came from nowhere. And I remember when I was told about the second one, I was like, I'll just say that again if I got that wrong. But two players who people will be, what or who, as I say them, and I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, but Brighton have signed an 18-year-old Korean winger from Daejeon Hana, I think it's pronounced, the club. And it's Yoon De-Jong, an 18-year-old. It's a typical Brighton style. Who is this kid? He'll probably be worth 80 million in a couple of years' time, isn't it? It's just one of them for peanuts. And just when I was messing around and like trying to sort of, God, where they got him, he'll be a star. Got the message back like, well, Liverpool wanted him. Like, sorry, say that again. Like Liverpool inquired about this kid because they think he could be like a real potential one and star in the future. And I was like, how do Brighton do this? Because this is, if they actually recall all the forwards or attackers they've got like 14 on their books, Trev. It's just absolutely insane how they stockpile them. But they're the sharp operators, no two ways about it. And then for those that can't see the screen, we mentioned Chelsea. We mentioned them in a bit of a guffaw way. That name that Dario Asugo, I think it's pronounced, that they bought from Sporting Lisbon. This was one. And again, when we were asking about it the other week, got the set of Liverpool wanted him. It's like, sorry, what? Liverpool wanted him. Liverpool wanted him as the Gravenberch backup almost for next season, seriously, and had a look at this kid. Again, it's a big data one that a lot of stats are there, but Chelsea come in with their 8-year contracts and big money, don't they? And it all goes to pot realistically. And Sporting Lisbon aren't going to turn that down. But for those that can't see it, this is a key detail. He's been on loan at Las Palmas and he's wearing that kit. Who's gone to Las Palmas on loan this January? Stefan Bajcetic. And part of it, ladies and gents, was supposed to be around this transfer and building that deal specifically. However, Chelsea have come in with huge money. So, yeah, that was a bit when we're digging around. That's why it says on the screen we missed out on them. But Liverpool liked the young Korean winger who's gone to Brighton, and they liked Dario Sugo, who is now going to be a Chelsea player for the Club World Cup. And definitely ask me about that again in a second, Trev.
Can I just ask you one thing? When you hear that Liverpool like them, and do you not find it almost more annoying to hear that information and hear it confirmed, and then see Brighton just doing the Brighton thing and just taking a chance on these guys? Because it doesn't. Aren't we all just kind of slightly in awe of how they go about their business? Isn't our model sort of incredibly enviable? So if we're in that if we're swimming in the same pool, why don't we flex our muscles and get these guys, even if we have to pay a little bit more than Brighton would have paid for them? You see where I'm going with that? It's a bit frustrating, right?
I think it always goes back to Jurgen Klopp when he talked about FSG. Do you remember he said, like, they're cautious with their money, sometimes too cautious. It does feel a little bit like, I'm hoping you'll see a bit of that change. And even if you get moves like it would have been a Sugo or this Mohamed Amora, things like that, I do wish at times that, especially, and maybe we've just got PTSD from a window where we signed a keeper who didn't even come to us and a 10 million Italian international who was a crop. Maybe there's that. But it would be nice just to see a few of those where we just did it. It just came from nowhere. Bang.